Blitz sweeps the Triple Crown and wins his third straight. McAdoo wins Indy.
Dirt bikes are tough and they're so rewarding.
Hey guys, welcome to Title 24, presented by NBC Sports. I'm Ricky Carmichael, my co-host Ryan Villopoto, coming at you every single week. Before we get going, like always, we got to thank our great sponsors, United Motorsports, Dunlop, Quad Lock Case, and Boxo USA. We appreciate you guys and the partnership and all the fun promotions that you guys do around Title 24. And how was your week, RV? Was it pretty good?
Yes, it was. It was good. Got up to Mammoth, did some snowboarding for a couple days, and then jammed back home. Packed weekend with baseball games, and then obviously watching Indy. So,
did you guys win the ball game yesterday, or what?
We got mopped up on Sunday, but we beat the same team on Saturday, so we swapped it out. So
50-50.
Yeah, 50-50. Yeah. So
all right,
it was good. Boys are into baseball right now, so that's fun.
How was the snow in Mammoth? Pretty good.
Snow was good. Yeah, snow was good. Got good weather, so got lucky for 2 days. You know, the wind can blow majorly up there, so we had had 2 solid days of boarding.
Yeah. I'm glad to be back in studio, dude. Right? It's been a while. I was a full pull there. Like we had the Triumph ride, and I was in Daytona. Then my kids had spring break. Only got one more spring break left with them. So just trying to scoop up any little time possible with them, because they'll be gone off into the real world here soon. So just cherishing those moments. So we were out of town for that, and then I missed their birthday because their birthday was on Saturday. So they turned 17, which means I'm getting old, but nevertheless, glad to be back in studio. Did you watch the weekend at Indy, and what was your just kind of overview of it?
I got to watch race day live. Also, obviously watched the night show. I thought the track was tough. I thought the track was a good raceable track. Also, right now, these boys have to. I mean, look at Jett. He's got a 21-point lead right now. Rode phenomenal. Went 1-1-1. So he's got those guys on the ropes. I'm going to say that right now. And then, as for the lights class, it was cool to see Cameron McAdoo get the overall win. But man, we only have a 2-point gap in the 250 class. So that thing's anybody's game at this point. I think we're going to come back. We're going to Seattle this weekend. As we know, it's my hometown, and it's open stadium in the Northwest. It's green for a reason, people. So, right. I got my fingers crossed, but we know what we can face up there. So it's going to be another probably wrench thrown in the program, which we could see a lot of change up, which could be interesting to see in both these classes.
Heemskirk G's.
Yes.
Ask, was the Triple Crown format the best decision for a racetrack like Indianapolis? I mean, listen, I think that you don't always know how the dirt is going to be. Sometimes they get new dirt at venues. Sometimes in years past, the track is a bit drier there. Now, inherently, Indy has always been soft. We know that. Was it the right idea for it? Maybe for the track. Not necessarily, but in my mind, I think it was great for Indianapolis, the race fans there at Lucas Oil Stadium. You know how enthusiastic they are. I think it was a good format for the fans. Maybe not the track. What's your hot take on it?
Look, I think I got to see all the, you see the skid steers go out there, and as they do their parade laps or first laps of each one of their main events, you can see where they touch the track. They did a good job at staying up on stuff, areas of the track that were really deteriorating very quickly. But ultimately, I don't care where they stick the Triple Crown, because every one of these riders have to ride the same conditions. So I like sticking it in a place like Indy like that, as we know that the dirt can be soft. They bring it in the stadium. The stadium is about 80 degrees. If it is frozen, it starts to melt. So it is a very technical track. So and that's what we need. These guys are the best in the world. Yeah. They ride on every single condition, and they need to race on every single condition to see who the best is at the end of this series.
That's right. And this is a great segue to the the next question before we get to the 450 recap, but this is a random question. We couldn't find, for some reason, we couldn't find out who asked it, but it's a good question. With 9 whoops now, guys that were good at blitzing them are now jumping them, and it feels slower. Why not blitz the whoops if you're good at that style of riding? What do you think?
Well, I think at 9 whoops, obviously this one at Indy was a little bit different than a standard set of whoops because we had that smaller wall in front of it.
I liked that, by the way. I liked that.
I do. I liked how it opened up options. So early on, to the question, McAdoo was blitzing, I think, in main event 1 most of the race. As the track deteriorates, yes, they become jumpers. When the ruts get too deep, the ruts grab the sides of the tires, and it's just not really faster, or it may be way too much risk involved to blitz. So I liked having either roll the wall and then get your combination right, or like what Jett was doing, jumping in. I thought that gave some really good options, and also being that once you went to the out of the whoops, you had a hard 90 coming back onto, or 180 back onto
180,
back on the start straight. Well, if you watch Jett a few of those times, he was able to stay very left and actually miss that last little whoop and then come up the inside of the rut, completely out of the rut. So I like that. It gave options. So I thought it was a good, if you're going to have 9 whoops, I thought it was a good way to build them.
Yeah, I think too, to this rando question that we have, dude, some guys, and listen, not always will they be able to blitz them. Now we might go to Seattle and they might be blitzers and they're just 9. I just think you will see more guys jumping 9 whoops in the softer conditions.
Yes.
And the reason that is because they break down. So not always are guys going to just continue to jump these. You watch, I think we go to harder dirt, they're going to start blitz. The guys that are good blitzing will blitz them. That's what I think. So good question. 450 recap, dude. You talked about it a little bit on your overview of what you thought about Indy. Jett Lawrence 1-1-1, dude, pulls out the hat trick. It was a pretty darn good win right there, and Kenny made him work for it. What do you think, dude?
He did. No, Kenny was riding very well. Jett, just nobody could touch Jett this weekend. Technical track. He put himself in good starting positions, at all three motos, and stayed out of trouble. But Kenny, man, Kenny put some pressure on him, and so did Chase. I know that the Triple Crown, so some of the races that, ended up differently, where Chase was maybe a little bit farther back, but there was, I think it was race 3 where Chase was kind of putting some pressure onto the boys, but nonetheless, like, look, Kenny's in my opinion, Kenny's in this position to go out and win races. Can he technically, mathematically, he's in this championship fight, but I think for his team, for himself, he just keeps riding as well as he can ride and get as many race wins as he can. And then back to Jett, he's just really got to stay consistent. I mean, it's his race to lose now.
Yeah, it's his championship to lose for sure. I said the same thing, dude. I think it's his championship to lose at this point, right?
100%. I mean, dude, it's 21-point lead. He's been the most consistent. He's got the most race wins. You got Chase
at the points. There you go.
Points right now. Chase Sexton was sitting third with 25 points out. Ken Roczen 35 out. So, Coop with 21. So, if anybody had, I think, a struggling night, at least from a point standpoint, and also Coop obviously landed on, kind of blew off the side of the track, landed on that Cowie. I forget the guy's name. But yeah, it was just a tough race for him. So now he's 21 points out. So, like I said, Jett has these boys on the ropes, and they got to figure out how to do something. But like I said, we're going to Seattle this weekend. Anything can happen. It's open stadium.
Yeah. I mean, we're going like we said, we've only got 2 more closed in races.
Exactly.
We got St. Louis is one of them, and dude, that might be it, because Denver is open, Salt Lake is open, Foxborough's open, Nashville is open. So we only got one more round that's closed up, and that'll be next week at St. Louis, and there's only 6 left. So hey, anything could happen. I was just go back, Aaron, throw those points back up. If something crazy happened, and looking at these points, and Jett, for some silly reason, I don't know, had a mechanical and lost 20 points or 15 points, it would be a hell of a battle. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
dude.
it would. Yes, it would.
Like, like,
like we're going to Seattle coming up this weekend, and as we know, any mud races, anything can happen. And that's exactly what somebody like in Coop's position needs at sitting 21 points behind. Yes, he could go out and win the rest of the races, and it might come down pretty close to, being really a really close points race. But I don't, you don't really want to have to back yourself into that corner and be in that position of like, dude, I have to win out from right now all the way into the end of the season. That's a tough position to be in, because with this field as stacked as it is, that's asking for a lot. So yes, he's going to need a little bit of a favor or a bad weekend from Jett, like coming up to Seattle here, that could be muddy. And as everybody knows, goggles, bike issues, first turn crashes, just anything can happen. It just opens it up for a bunch of things to make a difference.
Yep, they're gonna need some help for sure. 7 races left. I forgot 7, Philly, which is open. But to what we were saying, there's only one more race that is covered, and dude, the weather could go crazy, like you said. Pacific Northwest this weekend, it could go crazy in Philly, Foxborough, Nashville. It could.
And Ricky, here's the other thing. Like I'm not sitting here talking down on it. I think it's good that we have right. These open stadiums, and we have the weather conditions that we potentially could see. The cream always rises to the top, and and the last person that stands on the podium out there at Vegas is going to be the champ, right? So they're going to see all different conditions like we have this year already. This has probably been one of the years that we've seen multiple mud races right away as openers coming into this season. So they've seen a lot of it already. So we have more to come.
That's right. Hey, this next segment right here, the Dunlop due diligence. On 2 occasions, Chase Sexton spoke about his motorcycle and that Red Bull KTM, and he's been saying, about how they need to continue to get better and that they're not where they need to be. And then, then they keep testing, they're making improvements, but they're not where he wants to be. That's for sure. He's been pretty outspoken. Well, I feel like the tops came off the kettle this week. The reason, I think, because I think he was more outspoken, and we got our Dunlop due diligence section of the week is about Chase and his ongoing struggles with the machine. So roll the tape and see what he says. He's talking to Will Christian.
Where are you at with the bike, and is that a big part of it, or is this kind of come down to you personally in a sort of mental side of things?
It's a little bit of both. I still don't have I don't know if I don't have the speed or the spark that I had last year yet. It's coming back, trying to get better every week. I had a pretty gnarly off season, just not being able to do a lot of motos, and I'm really I wish I was like where I'm at now before the season started, but it is what it is, and better late than never. So obviously we're not where we want to be as far as winning races, but I feel like we're starting to kind of climb back towards the top, and tonight was a good telltale of where I'm heading. And my starts, like I said, I need a lot of work on my starts. But other than that, my riding was pretty good tonight. A lot more than I thought it was going to be. I think I didn't really take into account the aluminum frame to steel frame. It's a big difference, and we're kind of paying the price for that right now. But like I said, we'll get there, and these are just growing pains and steps that we got to take to get back to the top.
Ooh, well, you go for it. You go first, dude. Go ahead.
Look, I mean, I kind of look at it as also number one. Everybody from KTM to Chase and his team. It's kind of like a rebuilding year, right? Like you leave factory Honda that you've been there for a handful of years, and now you're switching over to a brand new team, brand new bike, and it's actually a completely different platform. From a steel frame, or coming from an aluminum frame, going to a steel frame. So, I mean, I don't know what he was expecting to just jump on a brand new motorcycle. And, sometimes, I mean, I guess you hope for the best, and you think you're making the best decision to improve yourself, but there's a lot of learning curves. You got to learn the team's got to learn you, and also racing. You can't replicate anything he's seen on the weekends during the week. So, that being said, he had a chance to ride, I'm assuming, multiple bikes.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Listen.
Ricky, you said Star Yamaha.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I heard that he loved the Star Yamaha.
Yep.
Right. I heard that from a pretty reliable source. And I actually busted him in Tallahassee. I saw him in town when he was riding. I was passing. He was pulling out of Whole Foods. He was with a sponsor of his. I'm like going by Whole Foods. I'm looking. I saw the sponsor he was with. I'm like, who's in the car? And I'm like, oh crap, that was Chased. And and then I had later heard that the Star facility was closed for a couple days. And anyhow, but I will say, like, then he rode. I mean, you just have to assume he rode the KTM
for sure.
So at that point, and maybe I'm different, maybe you would have been different, but so I struggle with him saying that the bike isn't what he expected. And, and more than anyone, you don't get many cracks at being a Supercross champion. And so you want to eliminate as many throwaway years as possible, or a rebuilding year. I just think it's too short in our industry. Whether you're playing stick and ball, that's different. When there's other people on a team that have, that are actually competing, I just think it's different. So I look back and I'm like, well, what were you expecting? I mean, why did you not base your decision, or did you base your decision off something different other than the bike that you rode when you tested? You knew it was better than your Honda, and I'm going to that manufacturer because this bike is better and it gives me the feel that I need and I'm looking for. Like, that's how I would have based it on. And it sounds to me like he didn't make that decision because of that. Or maybe if he rode the Red Bull KTM and he maybe at the time didn't think it was better. And he's like, well, but it might get better. I just don't think you can base that decision. I don't think you go that route.
Well, here's the thing, Ricky, too. Like you said, he did ride the, multiple bikes at the start and everything else. He obviously made that decision based on the bike being pretty damn good, and then maybe his surroundings of a team, having Roger, having Ian, having these guys that are past, that have won multiple championships with yourself and multiple riders. You got to think everything's coming together for the better. But I also look, like I said, it's kind of a rebuilding year, right? Like yes, should he be up front? Should he be winning races? I think he should be. But I also don't know what he expected to, just leave Honda and then go to KTM and expect to be right back in the mix. I think he's in the mix. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Has he rode to his potential this year? No, I don't think so. But I also think that, like Will asked him, is it the bike or is it the mental side? I think part of that's the mental side too. Him trying to almost talk himself into that this bike is capable of doing it. I know it's capable of winning races. We've seen it already. Coop's won championships on it. AP's won, a race this year on it. I think they're making good strides. Ultimately, I do think it comes down to Chase just needing to be quicker and ride better and put himself in better positions, because I know the bike's capable.
I just go back. Like, I remember when I had an opportunity to ride the Honda before I left Cowie. I'm like, if I didn't get on that motorcycle, and I knew, and I was kind of in a similar situation because the Honda that I rode was a 2001. They didn't have the 2002 chassis ready yet. And they told me it's going to be substantially different. I'm like, okay, well, if it's not better, can I still ride this bike? And they're like, yes, but we do think that this one, the O2 model, is going to be better because what you're feeling here, the O2 chassis has improved in this area. I'm like, okay, but if I don't like it, I still got this, right? They're like, yeah, for sure. I'm like, okay, because when I rode the Honda, it was immediately better. It was better where I wanted it to be better. And I'm like, okay, I know I can win on this. It feels better in the areas where the Cowie I knew needed an improvement, but I knew in 2002 we weren't going to be on anything new. So I needed to be on something better because I just thought that MC was going to be that much better in 02. So like, I just was guarding on the side of, okay, well, what if the 02 model isn't better? And it was better. So I didn't get to 02 and be like, well, it's a rebuilding year, we're going to get better. It needed to be better before we got to the season. So I'm like, dude, I'm flabbergasted. And then he talked about the chassis. I go back to when he rode the chassis. like you came from an aluminum, you went to the KTM, you rode that, and then you rode the Star bike. So I would love to know what was the difference from, why was it good when you tested the KTM last year at this
Or
time?
what was his ultimate decision to pick KTM over the Star Racing? Was it money? Was it value? Was it the team that surrounded him? Was it a smaller team versus having as many riders that Star has? We don't obviously know any of that, but look, he sowed his seed, and that's where he ended up. He picked that, so he needs to ride it and he needs to win on it. That's kind of the way I look at it. The bike's capable. Yes. Are they struggling with things? Probably, but there's a lot of dudes struggling with things out there, and that's where you can see the difference between a champion and somebody that is maybe race winners and doesn't knock down multiple championships or multiple race wins in a year. Is figuring out how to make yourself better, and if not, relying on the strengths where that KTM is good. Back to when Kawasaki. My Kawasaki was really good in a few spots and it struggled in other spots, and I had to be the same as Dunge in those other spots where I struggled, but quicker in the other spots where the bike was good. And that's what you need. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. There you go. That's the Dunlop due diligence. Dunlop, we appreciate you guys. Best tire in the business. Speaking of Dunlop, these boys are going to have some serious decisions to make, whether they go paddle, whether they don't go paddle. Before we land the plane on Chase Sexton, go listen to his interview that he does with Lewis Phillips at Vital. He doo-dooed, in my opinion, in the nicest way possible on his bike. I mean, he lets it rip. And you can see his displeasure. And one line that he says is like, they need a really tall ladder to dig themselves out of the hole that they are in. Just go listen to it. Y'all listen to it yourself. Lewis was even sounded surprised when Chase was telling them these things. So I don't know, maybe Chase is trying to light a fire under the team, but I'm with you. He planted the seeds, dude, and he's stuck. He is stuck, and what you got is what you got. And
that's right. Yeah.
You know what? At the end of the day,
work around it and make yourself better.
At the end of the day, you know what? He's got what he's got, and he's got to figure it out. That's the bottom line. And he made the decision. And if he was influenced by someone in his inner group, then that's on him. Because at the end of the day, I know you would have made your own decision on that. Yeah, you would have listened, but before you put pen to paper, you're going to make the final straw. And it's funny because Richie Lane is saying, there's speculation about him already leaving and maybe going to Star in 26. So that'd be funny. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think that I do think he's in a good position. I don't think he needs to be. Yeah, it'd be hard on yourself to improve, but he is right there. I mean, find a couple little steps, couple little.
Yeah, I
things.
mean, he is.
Like it's not like we're talking. We're running around. He's went from winning some races and being in a championship fight and winning a championship last year, and he's running around in 10th. He's not far off. No. So put pen to paper and go to work.
Cooper Webb. Horrible weekend for him. I mean, considering the last couple weeks and from a championship standpoint, Aaron Jones, 17. What would fix the Startcross conversation? No greats. Is that a real thing?
Like you said, it's becoming a Startcross. So, we rode good that last one, but just put ourselves in a bad position at the first one. So we'll take the beating and come back stronger and be ready for next weekend.
Startcross. I saw some dudes passing, bro.
I saw some rumblings about that, and I know we've talked about this. The great has been a question, I think, last year on a couple of our viewers or listeners on the show sent in the great. What do they think of the greats? And do I think it levels the playing field behind the gate? Yes, I do. Ultimately, it's reaction time. I had mentioned last year that some of these hard pack races, not necessarily Indy, but if you get to Phoenix and you get to some of these places that might only have 4 to 5 good gates outside the gate, meaning once the gate falls forward, or falls backwards towards you out in front of the gate can get blue groove or holes or things like that. And that's where it really makes a big difference in time qualifying to put yourself inside the top 5 or inside the top 3 to get a good gate. So, but ultimately, I hear what Coop's saying, but there's 22 guys on that line, and they all have the same opportunity.
Hey, I think, is he talking about Startcross, like because you can't pass?
Yeah,
that's how I took it.
I don't know. This question was, is the greats a problem? Hey, it is what it is. MXGP has greats. Supercross has greats. These guys have been racing on it for a few years now. It's nothing new.
Find a way. Find a way
to pull the whole shot or put yourself in a good position, a good starting position around the first turn. I mean, it's really no different than dirt.
There you go. Thanks, Aaron Jones.
There you go.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, dude. Kenny was impressive. Jacob Chin. Is Kenny the only rider to have the intensity to challenge Jett? Too bad he's not always on. No, I don't think he's the only guy from my perspective.
No, but right now I think that Kenny right now seems to be the only one that has the speed to be able to run with Jett, at least for a handful of laps, right? Jett was able to open it up on Ken towards the end of these laps, but no, Kenny is a phenomenal rider. He's got the sprint speed right out of the gate that he needs to have to stay with somebody like Jett. To me, it looked like right here as we're watching the replay, Jett going up, running Kenny a little high. That last main event kind of looked like he just got a little flustered. He had some good laps coming in, and then he got some heat. Jett passed him, and then there was some heat behind him, so it kind of compounded it. And that's where Kenny needs to try to improve, is to stick with Jett for call it the Triple Crown for that 12-minute moto. He needs to pressure Jett the whole time and pressure him into a mistake, because I don't think Kenny has all-out speed to just be like, hey, I'm faster tonight and I'm going to pull a whole shot and I'm going to win. You're going to have to pressure somebody like Jett into a mistake.
Yep. I agree that there are other guys, I think, that have some speed, like, I mean, you catch them on a good night and they have speed. Eli, Jason Anderson, Cooper, the right track, the right place. And I think it's just not Kenny. So, but that was a good question for sure. Kenny is, I think Kenny's coming into rare form right now. And he did great, but he had talked about it. Like you go back to last year, Indy. I mean, you remember that was a phenomenal ride that he did, getting his first win on the Zook. So, you know how it is when you win at a venue and you go back, you just have this certain amount of confidence that you get excited to go back to, and you know how the track's going to be. So it wasn't a total surprise for me to see Kenny do that. What's your thoughts on any thoughts on Pless or Anderson before we get into Tomac?
Yeah, I thought the guys rode good. It's tough. Those Triple Crowns, they throw a wrench in the program. 3 gate drops. That's like the biggest thing. I never had a chance to race other than Monster Cup, which was 3 gate drops.
Man, you won the $1 million there.
Yep, yeah, and it's tough. And that was a tough race in general, just because of the 3 gate drops and being on for three
and the shorter races, right? So everyone can send.
Exactly. So, but I never raced it in a championship form, in championship weekend, where it's like, hey, you have 3 gate drops, every point counts. This was a one-off race, right? So, I think AP rode well. Anderson showed some fire, along with Tomac was okay. I think he look, I don't know. I don't want to
talk about it, dude. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We have to bring it up because we kind of been talking about it. Like, he's still in the title hunt. And I think it's over at this point.
Yeah.
I think, like, for the championship, unless something gnarly happens and he gets on a win and turns things around. But it really just Nothing.
Flat, I guess, like flat. I look at it as
flat.
And part of that is look, I mentioned on the show, and I had multiple opinions prior, a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Tomac, as Tomac was a topic, and now he's a topic this week on the show. Look, I'm gonna go out on a limb and chalk it up as just that time on the couch, a major injury like that, 3 kids at home. Maybe he's just not as sharp as he used to be. Not that he won't find a good track through in these next 7 races and pull off a win. But he is out of it mathematically, essentially, like out of the championship. Something major could happen, but ultimately for him, he's got to be looking for race wins. And if not, look, I see on Vital, like Tomac's never going to win another race. And if he doesn't, that's okay. I mean,
yeah, that's fine.
You guys would complain if he would have just wrapped it up after his Achilles tendon. It's like, oh, he should have came back. He should have gave it one more try. We would have been talking about that. Now it's like, oh, he's washed up. He's over. It might be his time. So we're going to find out what his decision is at the end of the year. If he keeps going, great. If he doesn't, then, chop it on the top and give him a good job.
Yeah, that should be interesting to see what he does, and maybe he thinks that he can go another year, and maybe he can recover from that time off. I think if he's thinking that, because I can't see Eli going to race and just collecting a paycheck, and you know how Kenny's approach is, like he's just happy to get on the podium. He knows how hard it is to do that these days with how tough the field is, and like it's almost like Kenny is okay with not winning championships. I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that it sounds like that. I don't know if Eli is that kind of competitor. I feel like he's a championship only guy, and maybe he has more confidence in him. He's got more confidence in himself than some of us do with him and possibly winning another championship. And maybe he thinks, dude, let me get through this season. Let me have a standard off season of training, preparation, and I can improve, and just give me another crack at it. I mean,
that very well could be true, RC. But the other thing is too, is like, I will say that, and taking nothing away from Kenny, because I'm a fan of Kenny big time. I love his riding style, love what he's been able to accomplish on the Suzuki team, and getting them their first win last year and being in a position that he's in this year. But there is a mentality difference between maybe somebody like Cooper and Kenny, Eli. Eli and Kenny is, coming off of being so dominant and having so many race wins and also championships. It is hard to swallow maybe being in this position. So no, I don't think that Eli will continue riding where, call it riding around where he's at and getting these finishes. I think that, unless, like you said, he sits back afterwards and says, hey, I want to have a normal off season without an injury, come back swinging, then that's one thing. But, I think that everybody needs to give the guy a little bit of slack. And hey, if this isn't last hurrah, then you better soak it up, because you're not going to see him out there anymore here soon if he decides that.
Yep. And at the end of the day, he is, he deserves to he deserves due process, and let the man figure out exactly what he wants to do, make a good decision, one that just isn't made up in short time. I would have to guess that he is maybe in a little less power play position with Monster Energy Star Yamaha race team, and they may not give him that time that they once would have, just given his results. I know it sucks, but dude, that's business. That's how it goes. And, they have to protect their future as well. And I'm sure that they will have other options. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Real quick before we leave our 450, going back to Coop, he got hung up behind Cade Clayson.
Yeah, so it was.
Yeah, he got messed up. Here we're watching the replay. This is race 1. Cade Clayson gets cross-rutted and jumps right into the line of Cooper Webb. Really nothing that Coop could do. Cade knew he messed up. Since those guys coming, looks over and takes out the guy running second in the championship, which absolutely sucks. Not only for him personally, but for all the fans. Happens, stuff like that. But at the same time, our producer says, should Coop have mentally bounced back faster from the Cade Clayson incident? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough, having a hitting a lapper like that. Like it wasn't, Cade just got cross-rutted, and then Coop, even Coop, those guys were trying to, double, triple through there. So the ruts were gnarly. But look, yeah, you have to be able. You have to be able, as a championship guy, you have to be able to write off that first race and come out and have two solid finishes in those last two motos. But it didn't seem to happen. So yes, in championship form, as in how Coop stands, how he carries himself. Yeah, I think he needed to bounce back quicker. I know the track was super tough that night. We heard it all day through Race Day Live, all day through the main events, or all night through the main events of how tough it was. But go on to next weekend. I mean, look, he's sitting. He's sitting,
21 points
down. Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. It's look, you go back to the truck or you go back during the week and say, hey, I got to win as many races as I can on the way out of here. And if I win the championship, great. If not, I solidified myself with hopefully either the most race wins or second most race wins. We have Jett with five overalls this year, substantially more than anybody else.
And hey, remember he complained about his bike. He was unhappy where he was. And dude, he backed up his words. He stepped up. He got on the team that he wanted to be on, and he did better, straight up. So you know what? Good for him. Also, I will say this is that, like it's so important in the Triple Crowns, and it's a lot like the SMX playoff rounds where, it's hard to rebound when you set yourself behind in that first race. It's tough. So now you're on your heels the whole time, and you're in a must situation where, if you have two good races like you talked about and you set the tone, you can kind of go into that third round with a little bit of insurance. So it is what it is. He's going to have to rebound. These guys are the best in the business, and they're expected to rebound and make the adjustments necessary. So that's it for our 450 recap.
It means so much. This was, it's been a while since I've got a win. They all feel so good, and I don't want to be like redundant or repeat myself, but gosh, I'm just so grateful to be in this position, to be this healthy, to fight for this, and just to race my dirt bike. Like, that was what I live for. Going into that third race, tied on points, and just that lock in, and like I've been saying all night, just being present where my feet are, and gosh, I'm just so proud of that one. I've had a long road, just as all of us have. Dirt bikes are tough, and they're so rewarding, but I'm just so grateful for my family who's been with me. They love me just as much every time, whether I come home and win or 15th or whatever it is, and this is just so special to get to do in front of you guys. I've said it before, this is my dream. This is so special. And a quote that I've really tried to live by lately is, my wife has a sign in our room that says, these are the good old days, and I truly believe that. So
get into our 250 recap. Hey, if you guys haven't yet, head on over to United Motorsports, unitedmotorsports.com/title24. Get over there. Everyone that signs up gets a $15 credit for just signing up for that initial sign up. And if you're watching the show, you can scan the code and just the barcode there and follow the prompts. If not, if you're only listening, go to unitedmotorsports.com/title24. And then once you sign up, create your account, you'll get a chance to win $50 to that gift card each and every week. They pick a lucky winner. So head on over to unitedmotorsports.com. Get signed up, $15 credit right off the bat, and a chance to win $50 additional dollars to that. So our United Motorsports moment of the night definitely is Cameron McAdoo. Superb ride. He's been solid all year long. He got caught up in the first turn crash at Detroit. We talked about it on the broadcast. RV, you know that, and he's been nothing worse than second since then. And now he finally got the win. So when you're stringing along second, you know that it's coming. Sherry Colber, Cameron's attitude is so refreshing. Why aren't others sharing their feelings? What do you think?
Look, yes, he did do a great podium interview there. I will have to say that going off of past seasons, past races, watching Cameron, very inconsistent, and also had some major, he's taken some major diggers, probably some of the hardest out of the riders on the line. So to see him with the consistency this year, I think that's the huge improvement. Cam's always had good speed, but always ends up on the ground or making a dumb mistake. So what I like to see from him this year, what we're seeing right now is consistent. Like you said, nothing worse than a second. Just got his first overall Triple Crown win last night at Indy. So that was really good to see. That's what you need to do in this lights class, is to also win races, but mainly the big thing is be consistent, because we know these younger guys, or the 250 class, race wins. We see it happen often, but it's the consistency side of things that we don't see from this class. And that's what I think that's what I am chalking up to put Cam in the position that he's in right now, is the consistency. And he talked about that, just being there every weekend, also being present. And I think he did a great interview. I like some
other riders like that. They just and Cameron's older, right? He's
I think he's a little older, a little wiser. He's been in this game for a while. He's gone through some very highs and some very, very low lows. So I think to have that perspective that he has to the question is you have to feel the highs and you have to feel the ultimate lows. And I think if anybody's felt those ultimate lows, it's probably Cam.
Yeah, no, well, definitely. He's definitely made highlight reels. That's
he's taken some gnarly licks, man.
He has. So I think my overview of Cameron this year, as opposed to other years, is I do feel like his pace is comfortable for him, where maybe in years past running that pace to be like first through third on certain weekends is just a little out of his comfort zone. And so when you're able to ride RV, when you can ride and get second, no problem. And you don't have to push the limit. Yes, you're trying hard, but you're not overriding. That's a good place to be in. So, that's a testament to him making improvements and just getting faster. So comfort and race speed is good enough for second, or even it was good enough to win. Maybe he wasn't always the fastest this weekend, but he was the most consistent guy, to exactly the point that you were saying. So I think he's good. Now I I back up completely what you said. What am I looking for in Cameron McAdoo? Is he gonna do what he's done in the past, and is he gonna have that throwaway race? I hope that's not the case, but that's what I'm looking for. And I'm always wondering, like, is he going to hold it together?
Yep. So, yeah. And the other thing, maybe that I know they made some improvements with the engines over there. And maybe it's made from last year and years past. And maybe that's something where he's, now that machine is equal or a lot closer, he doesn't have to maybe override the motorcycle in certain parts of the track where he feels more comfortable. It's getting the triples out of the turns a little bit easier. So his program's obviously working. We both worked with Mitch for many years, and we know how hard that team works. So finally, it's cool to see, man. They've been in a low point for quite a long time. So it's good to see those boys back up fighting for championships.
Yeah, definitely. They figured it out. Remember at the end of the motocross season last year, was like 3 races to go, and then started panning out. I'm pumped for Mitch and that whole race team, just as I know you are. We got a great relationship with him, especially you. Moving along to the chosen one, we got some sound on tape. Aaron, give it to us.
Yeah, I got to give thanks to God, though. He's been by my side and pushes me every day to be the best man I can. And, in life we make mistakes, man, and we got to learn from them. And we're going to keep pushing through, and we're going to fight tonight. And the pace is getting there, man. It's my first full week of training back, and the pace is getting there. We just got to keep improving. And, man, just grateful to get on the podium and, keep pushing forward on these weeks off.
I thought it was a big improvement, RV. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. I think that he learned. He said it right there in his interview, that you learn lessons and you improve from that. It was Birmingham less ideal for him? Of course it was. And then another thing too, he said this was his first full week of training, and said it in the broadcast. He did have better speed, and he rode more despite his issues. He looked more like what I anticipated him looking like all season long, but obviously he's been injured. So what are you happy with his interview? Does he feel like he was a little bit more humble, less spicy? But like, tell me what you think. Did you?
Yeah,
like
I know we got the critics on here. I from last week's show, 100%. So look, I think that that Haiden rode well. Like, to your point, is if that is 100% true, where he's actually getting weekdays of full training, full riding, that is definitely going to make a difference. To your point, I thought he looked better. He just looked like he had a little more. He had a little more speed. He had a little more sprint. He was more active. I thought he rode well. And like his podium interview, going back to last weekend, despite the first turn debacle that we talked about, yes, going over and making those stupid mistakes and going over and trying to yell at the pro circuit guys or throwing the motorcycle and things like that. Yes, he's young. He's in a position that none of you other keyboard warriors have ever been in. So to be able to speak on it, I think myself and you, Ricky, are probably the best to be able to speak on that. Is there's a lot of things coming at you at a very high rate of speed. And at 18, you're not going to catch them all.
No.
We're going to get you smack dab right in the face. And that's what happened. And that's kind of what has been happening a couple weeks prior to this. And it's kind of been compounding. So to go to Indy, to stay out of trouble. Yes, he still ended up in a first turn mishap, which was ultimately all him. Just caught that inside tough block with the foot peg, maybe got on the front brakes a little hard, and the rear tire just came off the ground and it starts to catch that tough block. And he went down and caused a first turn pileup. But nonetheless, he was able to get back up and fire it up and ride, a phenomenal race, or a good race, good salvageable race. Right there, tire comes off the ground. Yep, right there. See how it's not in line with the front, and then boom, catches that tough block. I've been in that same scenario. You get on the front brakes a little too hard, and that rear tire just comes a couple inches off the ground, and it starts to come in one direction or the other and grab that tough block. So.
Look, hey, S. Reitz asked that question. Reitz 711. Was the wreck in the 253rd race the tough block's fault? Question mark.
Well, it's never the tough block's fault. It's never the tough block's fault unless it's just dramatically in the middle of the track, right?
That's right. There you go. You're right. No, you broke it down. Boxo breakdown. Here you go. Walk us through it again. Roll the tape. Walk us through it. What happened, RV?
Yeah, so those tough blocks are there for a reason, and we'll get the slow-mo footage, Aaron, of that one that you showed with circled the tire on. So, just came into the first turn, not in a great starting position, but right here you can see the rear tire starts to come off the ground right here. And then, right there. And then it grabs a hold of that tough block. And we're talking like millimeters, maybe an inch too, like we ride. That's one thing. And it's a catch-22. And every member on your team will tell you, or your trainers or anybody involved with your group, stay away from those tough blocks. But here's the deal. When you ride a track like Indy, a lot of times those are You got to ride as close to the tough blocks as you can. You got to maximize the track. The track's only so wide and it gets so beat up. But there in the first turn, obviously just a pure mistake. The track wasn't ready there. Nothing more than grabbing the front brake a little too hard. And then it got tangled up in that tough block.
And had he not nose wheelied, the bike wouldn't have kicked over to his left, and he would have been just fine. And dude, to exactly what you said, RV, all it takes is, 5 inches is about all it was, and then it just scooped him up.
And the other thing that wasn't a standard tough block. That wasn't a standard, like, I don't know what the actual lengths of them are, but I know we have more hay bale style length tough blocks that are, call it 3 feet by whatever they are. That was a long one. That was like a double or triple, like the long ones they use on the start straights, for the fans that don't know the difference. But when you grab those big ones, those tough blocks, yes, are they soft? They are, but they are actually very heavy. So and they're soft. So when your bike touches it, it literally is like a sponge that sucks you into it.
It does. And then it recoils, like it sucks you in.
Right there, you can see right there. Look at the ATV and that tough block there. It's all peeled up. Rocky Mountain, it's all peeled up. Look, that's a long tough block. They weigh a lot. So when you do
slow motion too, right? It's like
you go down. They suck you in.
Yeah, they do. Going back to that, when you listen to Hayden's podium speech, my opinion, I do, and I had an opportunity to talk to his dad this morning. We did a little bike ride together, and they did have a conversation, and they talked about what went wrong and what happened at Birmingham. And listen, dude, what you said. He's 18 years old. He's going to be in certain situations, and he's going to have to learn from certain situations, and but back it down a little bit. There's a time and a place. And I feel like you saw a reflection of not only like being like a team and coaching your rider perspective, but a parent perspective too. And he had they had a conversation after Birmingham and said, hey, listen, we love your passion. We love what you're about. Never, ever, ever lose that. But there's a time and a place for it. And, you live and learn, but be humble but don't lose that edge also. So it's a fine line. And listen, I think,
and that's to your point, Ricky, right there, to like, it's a fine line. And, and somebody in that position at that age, number one is if you try to just rein him in completely, you're probably going to get a product you don't want. So yes, did he take it far? Did he go over the line a few of these last few weekends? Yes, I think he did. But being able to rein it in and listen,
peel it back
around you, like, okay, yeah, that was wrong. But you don't want to affect either his winning ability or his passion, how bad he wants to win. So you're navigating all these different angles from a kid, like, in that position with it. Look, he's got Star Racing all behind him. He's got people talking to him every time he comes in. It's like, do this, don't do this, do it like this, do it like that. And then he's got his mom and dad also. So there's a lot of things coming at that kid. So yes, did he make mistakes in the past? Yeah, 100%. But he's going to hopefully learn from them. If not, it'll bite him it'll bite him.
Yep. 100%. And then keeping on the last one for the Boxo breakdown. If you haven't checked out Boxo, go check them out. BoxoUSA.com. They've been a part of Title 24 podcast since the inception of it. So we appreciate you guys. Like we always talk about, lifetime guarantee. I actually talked to one of the Alpine Star doctors out at the track this week, and he bought one of the 3-drawer moto
nice.
boxes. Yeah, pretty cool. And he was asking me a question about the little T handle holder that comes on the side. So go check them out. The last one for the Boxo breakdown, we haven't mentioned him yet, and I still think he's well within this title fight. He lost the red plate this weekend, but Tom Vialle, I was surprised that he was blitzing the whoops when he was, because they were starting to get a bit gnarly, and I don't think that's his strong suit. But here you go. He's coming through the whoops. They're relatively fresh. That's probably why. And truth be told, that was probably the fastest line. He missed one. Weight goes forward. Break it down for us, RV, and what you thought there.
Yeah, it's a kind of being that you had that hard 180 at the end here. You can see how he starts to kind of skip and hop a couple. And maybe when he landed, he was trying to, it's that transition point of kind of getting off the gas, but trying to start to slow your momentum down so you can get into the inside rut there. And maybe he wasn't anticipating dropping the front wheel into the whoops and it being maybe as soft, and also maybe a little too much input on the brakes while the front wheel went down in there, and then it just kind of popped him up and went down. I do think that you got Haiden behind him there going triple. So yeah, just a bad decision, on trying to blitz him maybe too long. Give the kid another year and more experience in whoops like this. Probably wouldn't see that happen. But yeah, he's sitting right now he's only 2 points out of the lead. So I'm stoked to see how consistent he has been. I know he's got a season under his belt last year. Look, and that was a true rookie season. Lots of mistakes. We saw some fairly decent sized crashes from him. Learning Supercross, learning how our program works over here, and you definitely see a big improvement from that last year. And as I said, we're only 2 points. He's only 2 points out of the lead. So, look, that's an interesting position to be in for Tom. And Cameron. Cameron never won a championship before, never felt that championship pressure down to maybe the last round. And then you have vice versa, somebody that's new to Supercross, but is a 2-time world champ. So really, really interesting setup that we have here, coming down to closing out that East Coast. Eventually, once we do close it out, who's going to be able to stand on top of the podium? Because we have somebody that's been in that position before, but in MXGP over in Europe, and somebody that hasn't, but that has been in the red plate holder, but had made mistakes and lost it.
You know what, dude? I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm wondering, like, say you or I are sitting third, right? And we have championship experience. We can't go to like the end of our career when we won multiple championships across the board in both classes and Supercross and MX. But if you are lining up against Vialle and you're lining up against McAdoo, and I'm putting you, dude, I'm totally putting you on the spot right now. Who would you be most concerned about, like, not wanting to, like, go down to the wire with?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go and say I'd be more concerned with Tom Vialle, and the only reason why I say that is because he's been in this position before for 2 world championships, and he's been able to hang on to it and close it out and be a world champ twice. So if you just go off of that right there,
you have to.
Cam hasn't been in that position, and we know how hard he's worked to get to this position. And we also know all that work that goes in, all that preparation. There is a load that you have on your shoulders, especially being consistent like he has through these the first part of this series. And then now with a 2-point lead, the target's on his back. So, that's the tough part. He's in kind of uncharted territory as it comes to rounding out the East Coast.
And another thing too, is Vialle's picked up his speed, in time qualifying practice this weekend. I was really interested to see how he was going to do compared to all the other riders, because it had whoops in there, and that's been his struggle. And dude, he was right up there with Cam and everyone else. And so, not only does he have championship experience, like you were talking about, and you were spot on, now he has speed. So it would have been tough, had he, it would have been an easier decision, I think, or pardon me, it would have been, I think, because Cameron is so fast, but he hasn't been in that position. But now, Tom, he is fast and he has championship experience. It makes the decision a little easier of who you focus on. And it's not being disrespectful to Cam. It just, you have to go on a guy that has been in this position before, like you talked about, and what that load is like, and carrying that red plate, and you just have to give that guy the benefit of the doubt. Now maybe RV, you and I are a little biased just because we know how we would be, and and who we would be facing. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's not a fair question for some of us, like someone like you or I feel like, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't think so. That's why we have a podcast, Ricky.
Yeah, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like I almost feel like
yeah, but like, look, you put me on the spot. I called it out and I said, look,
no, you did. I shouldn't have put you on the spot, but then
I'm good with that. Like, that's who I believe. If it wasn't, even if somebody asked me that and called me and said, hey, who you picking? It's this or this. I'd be like, okay, well, I'd look at stats. I'd kind of look at the records. I'd look at what they have done and what they haven't done. And also previous seasons with pressure and things like that. And you got to chalk it up to Tom has been in this position more times than Cam has.
Dude, second season and running. Quad lock question of the week. Get on over to quadlockcase.com. We appreciate you guys. This has been a lot of fun. I always look forward to it. And everyone likes a little bit of free swag. Quad Lock does it every week. We go through the picture questions. Not always. Sometimes we let our co-producer, a producer, pick the questions. But this week, the Quad Lock question of the week is Jim Jobling. Jim asks, with Indy breaking down like it did, how hard is it to find new lines and speed like Jett did in race 3? And I am turning it over to my co-host, Ryan Villopoto, to answer this questions and tell not only Jim, but everyone listening or watching this podcast how hard it is to do that and what is the skill to be able to do that.
Well, number one, look, that is tough, and especially on a track like Indy that broke down so quickly. And then on top of that, we had it was a Triple Crown, so a fair amount more laps on that motorcycle track than we would see on a typical night. So look, answering that question is I mean, literally you got to have kind of eyes all around your head, and what I mean by that is there. So use a lot of these ruts and these turns that get super deep or ruts on faces of jumps. You'll find that we'll start way left on the takeoff of the triple, and pretty soon that's the preferred line. And then you start moving to the middle, and then you start moving all the way to the right. Well, potentially, depending on kind of the dirt style, is sometimes those ruts will cave in on each other, or those ruts will get filled back in with roost and things like that. And you have to be willing to also move your lines. I know a lot of these guys stuck in like, oh, this is the only good line on the track. I feel safe jumping the jump like this. Meanwhile, it's 3/10 slower in that rhythm section than if you would have just moved to the right or to the middle or tried something different. I can only go back on past experiences where I would kind of try a lot of different lines on the track, and then I could go back to Dunge and I could find him in the same spot every time, riding the inside here, riding this line consistently and consistently fast. But when it came to passing a lapper, or when it came to passing a rider, it was very hard for him to get out of his line that he was comfortable in, because he had only lived in that line. So, you got to be aware of everything, that's how the track's breaking down, and changing up your lines too. And almost X-ray vision. I know it's really hard to think like that, or to even believe that we're able to see those things happening. But when you're so accustomed to the amount of laps these guys do, and they see so many dirt conditions, and they put this much time in on the motorcycle, you're able to move around on the track like that. And you have to, you gotta move around to stay relevant. If not, you just keep running that same line. Well, what if there's 10 other guys running that same line and that thing's blown out in 3 laps? So, it's tough.
You got to be bound and determined, Jim. You have to be bound and determined. You have to have that insight, that foresight, like RV is talking about, predicting. And you have to be willing to, like RV talked about, being open to the fact of trying different lines. And you know what? And Osborne was really good at this. Zach Osborne was like, he would never follow anyone. And even if you lose time, you have to be willing to at least try something. And if you lose time, you lose time, but you can't be married to that one line. Some guys do it really well, and some just aren't willing to venture off that main line, like you talked about, RV. And you're exactly right.
A lot like that, Ricky. I was a lot like that when it came to the whoops.
You got to move around.
Did not like jumping whoops. My bike was not set up for jumping them. I just struggled jumping them. So I at all costs would blitz them, unless I just had to start jumping them. But everywhere else on the track, I was very open. I was very free. I was able to go inside, outside, middle. I felt comfortable everywhere else. But that was one thing for me, is in the whoops. If they got to where they were really, really chewed up, I was a little bit slower in the whoops than I should have been, because I wasn't accustomed to jumping.
Dude, I feel like one of the weaknesses, and I don't know if you've seen this of Jett, is I feel like he hangs on to blitzing them for too long. I don't think he likes jumping through, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but it never looks that is the one thing in my mind that does not look natural to that guy, is he hangs on to the bitter end of blitzing, because it gets to a point, where it's like they're blitzers, and it's like, okay, it's not as fast to blitz anymore, so you got to jump them, whether you like that technique.
Up to, like, I think
I love jumping them. So
yeah, but if you don't exercise that option in practice, maybe practice 3, when the whoops are able to be jumped and they're more tore up, like for some reason, like that's like watching Jett, or thinking of myself I would blitz all the way through practice, and I would manage it, and I would do it. And then all of a sudden you'd come to the main event and you're like, oh, now I have to jump them. And it's not as comfortable. And then you're trying to figure out the combination. Am I going 3, or am I rolling the first starter and then going 3, or am I going double, triple? And that's, to me, that always got me, I always struggled with that a little bit. That was always kind of like my Achilles heel. I'd be like, shit, man, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with these whoops. Am I going to blitz them for 20 laps, or am I going to blitz them for half the race and then figure out how to jump them? And if I would go out there and I felt good for the first 10, I would just try to manage blitzing them the rest of the race.
Yeah. Sometimes what I did like some whoops sections where you blitz them at the beginning, and then you start hopping through them at the end. I like that. That was always a kind of a fun little switch up. But Jim, we appreciate it. Appreciate the question. Appreciate you being a loyal listener to Title 24. My man RV hopefully gave you the answer you were looking for of why and how. It's great insight. And I think some of these things, no matter how hard riders have worked on not being able to move around, they just can't quite do it as guys that are naturally better at it. So you win the question, Quad Lock question of the week. Slide into the Title 24 Instagram DM, and JH will set you up with the folks from Quad Lock, and they'll get you your stuff. So we appreciate you guys. Motorsports on NBC, give you guys a little preview of what to look for. As you guys know, each week on Thursdays, you got the SMX Insider Show with Weege and JT. That's on YouTube, so that'll be out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday, 2:30 p.m., Race Day Live qualifying. That's live on Peacock. Make sure you check out Race Day Live. They do some great stuff there. And then the race starts 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Super Motocross World Championship at Seattle Lumen Field. That'll be live on Peacock, so make sure you check it out. Check us out. And then for you West Coasters, that'll be 5 o'clock. But 8 p.m. Eastern, again, Super Motocross. And then 12:30 Sunday, the NTT IndyCar Series Thermal $1 Million Challenge on NBC, one of our co-producers' hometown. So check that out. That's going to be really, really exciting. And the reason that is, it's IndyCar is trying something a bit different, and it's almost like they're going to have like a heat race, and then a main, and there's like $1 million, $1.7 million up for grab. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be tuned in. So the Thermal $1 Million Challenge is going to be a lot of fun. You'll definitely want to check that out for sure. Seattle preview, going to Seattle. What's your expectations? I know the weather's going to be there, RV, other than outside of weather. How does that track break down? Because I didn't race there as much as you. Tell us like what you expect because of the conditions.
I expect another ruddy. Let's call it no rain. I expect another ruddy. That dirt up in Seattle area tends to break down a lot more.
Is it slippery?
It can be. So that's the thing. You mentioned it on the show earlier of this show. Like you might show up, they might have new dirt this year. So you never know if they get a rain out last year and it's just complete slop, and then they might get rid of that dirt and they bring something else in. So the dirt typically in the Northwest can be a little bit rocky and also break down. So I'm expecting a tough track, tough conditions, especially if it does end up raining. Then we all know what that opens the can of worms up to, being very, very, very tough conditions. So I think that starts are going to be always key, staying out of trouble. But I'm looking forward to getting back up there. I leave on Thursday morning, and then I'm going to head over and see my grandparents for 2 days.
Oh, cool.
They're getting old, so I got to go up and see them. And then you'll see me there Saturday. I might jump on to RDL too. Dougie just hit me up, wants me to come on for segment 2, it sounds like, for a little bit. So I'm looking forward to getting back to my hometown. Going to see a bunch of old friends and family, and also the great fans of the Northwest.
Yeah, they'll be excited to see it. I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. Hopefully maybe we'll talk to our producer on the broadcast, and maybe one of the guys who runs one of our producers here on Title 24, maybe we can slide you in for a segment.
Awesome.
I'd love to have you on, give your insight.
Good.
We got track map. Let's look at the track map. I feel like this design from when I saw it was kind of similar to Birmingham, when they're going diagonal across the track and stuff like that. So I don't know. I never was a guy, you're going to think I'm crazy, so I would never really look at the layout when I was racing, just because they would change jumps sometimes. Like, I know for sure in this track design, they have a huge long lane of whoops. Well, we're only going to have 9. So that's going to change. And then it's so hard to really see, for me at least, when I would look at the layout. Go for it. Walk us through here, RV.
Big first turn going into the nice rhythm section here. There's some long lanes here, lots of combinations. That's going to be something because of the length of the rhythm sections. Like we kind of saw this last here at Indy, where it's either 2-3-3 or 3-2-3. Like, I think that makes up some good passing points, especially if the track breaks down. You want to try to get into the pockets of the rhythm sections that are less rode in, so the ruts aren't nearly as deep. So if you can get almost off rhythm compared to what the rest of the field is running, that can be really beneficial. But no, actually, Ricky, I never looked at track maps and never same
because
thing.
The dirt too, right? It's like, well, the dirt's going to form up, so I can't tell you if I'm going to triple out of this.
Well, exactly. Like, I might take say, look at the track map. Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. They got it looks like a big finish line, or a long set of whoops. Okay, great. But at that point, I wouldn't put any emphasis into really looking at the track, or zero emphasis into building tracks that are similar to what Dirtworks have, because they all put the track maps out early, so all the team managers and teams and riders can check them out. But to me, I've never built a track specifically to, like, hey, I'm going to build Daytona, or I'm going to build this track. So because they all are different when you show up. From what they show on paper, and it's nothing on purpose. It's just how it is. It's not the same.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, we are headed to the West Coast this year, so we got the 250 West coming back. It's been a hell of a championship in the 250 class, that 250 West between RJ and Levi. I mean, it's crunch time. As you know, it's crunch time for these guys. They have limited races left, both the East guys and the West guys. So consistency is going to be key. The cream is definitely gonna rise to the top here.
Yeah,
short. That's gonna be fun, isn't it? And then, dude, your boy Kitchen should have the advantage here, right?
I mean, I hope so. I'm a Levi fan. I'm a big Levi fan. So yeah, it's either it can play into your hand as hometown and having the crowd behind you, or it can play, for some riders, it can play more of a hindrance, that the pressure of family, friends, and everybody, watching. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing Levi out there again. I'll also, along with RJ too. They're very close in speed this year, and so it's going to be interesting to see. I'm hoping for a solid race from the both of them.
Hey, for everyone listening, if you're just listening to the audio version of Title 24, we are on all podcast platforms. So go down there, Make sure you download, listen to us. We appreciate you. But if you're in the air, if you're anywhere where you can watch it, remember we're always on Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, so you can check us out there. And then on demand on Peacock. We are live on Peacock. You can go back and watch past episodes. Myself personally, and I told you guys this after the fact, that I thought last week's podcast was one of the funnest ones that I have done with you. And I don't know, it's just like the flow of it. It was fun. Everyone was relaxed. A couple cocktails. But go back to Peacock and rewatch that one after you watch this episode. We appreciate all you guys at United Motorsports, Quad Block Case, Dunlop Tires, and Boxo USA, and we'll do it again next week. You know what? The saga continues. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of drama we see, both 250 and 450 with Lumen Field.
Totally looking forward to it. It's going to be good. It's good to get back on the West Coast for these guys and get the West Coast 250 guys back out there. They've been on a pretty decent sized break, so it's going to be interesting to see who comes out maybe a little lethargic and who comes out swinging.
That's right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.